Let's call the meeting to order. If you have cell phones, please turn them off or turn them to vibrate. Next item is the approval of the minutes.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Next we have discussion and approval of the claims.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll pass around the memorandum of human resources.
I move on it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need the approval of 2 appointments to the Community Action Agency of the Siouxland Board of Directors.
Move to reappoint Sally Hartley and Kevin Green to the Community Action Agency Board.
Second.
Gene, I see you now out there, but
Well, I was just going to tell you really quickly, we're thrilled about Kevin on the board. I'm glad that he's willing to serve another term. He's been absolutely fabulous. And Amy Tooley is a representative from the city, and that relationship that we have forged with her because she's on the board has just been phenomenal. We have closer ties with that department than we ever have had before. She's
That's good.
absolutely remarkable. Yeah, that was really an amazing appointment. And so I'm glad she's willing to serve again too, so I hope you reappoint her.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You got them back. Next, we have the approval of the appointment to commission to assess damages, Category A, owner-operator of agricultural property.
Move to assign Debbie DeForest.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, planning and zoning, Peggy.
Standing in for John.
Go ahead.
In case we didn't know.
Yeah.
I move the approval of the final plating with referral to the Zoning Commission for recommendation.
Second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
We'll give you these back so that you got them.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Nara.
I received a request from landowners where Old Ward 141 meets the Bronson Blacktop. The old highway alignment there cut through that triangle roughly, where we have the curve now that comes out and comes to a square corner at the Bronson Blacktop. The road actually used to bend and go north through there. When DOT turned over the right-of-way of the road, that portion had already been closed. The right-of-way, however, came to the county. In 2007, the county vacated that right-of-way by resolution, which was allowed. The correct way to do it, the resolution was recorded. The land is transferring hands again now, and in reviewing the title, the attorney for the buyer has requested, just to make sure that we have clear title on the property, that a quitclaim deed be granted by the Board of Supervisors. I also filed an affidavit showing or I will be filing an affidavit showing that the procedure was followed, along with the correct references to the meetings that the board held in discussing this right away. It's my recommendation that we that the board approve the quitclaim deed and direct the chair to sign.
Move it. Second.
Did I miss anything in that, Joshua?
No, you did a good job.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you thoroughly confused me.
I didn't mean
Is-
to.
Is this property in the hands of the county now?
No, it isn't. It hasn't been in our hands since 2007, and it's been back on the tax rolls.
So
But I
all,
think there's been a couple of ownership transfers where both sides of the old roadway and now the roadway itself are all going to be joined as a single parcel under a single owner.
so we're quit claiming something we don't own.
We're quitclaiming a vacated property to help clear the title record on this property.
It's to satisfy the title, the attorney who's doing the title opinion more than anything. But the rule is if we vacate a road that was just an easement, we don't own the underlying land, and it revert to the abutting property owners. So it's questionable whether we have any interest in this property.
But we can go ahead and do this anyway.
Right, there's no harm in doing the quitclaim deed. The quitclaim deed just says, if we have an interest, we're signing it over to you.
See, the initial debate occurred whether the board could vacate it by resolution. And I would say that that vacation was done properly. 306.11 allows vacation of a right-of-way by resolution without going to the expense of notification and hearings when the vacation of right-of-way does not involve the changing of any access to property. Since the DOT had realigned the intersection and had abandoned the right-of-way in that area, although the title came to the county when the roads transferred, there was no reason that the board could not vacate it by resolution. We've done 3 of those since I got here, because again, they were vacations that did not affect anyone's access to the land. But it doesn't have the same clear record of property transfer provided by that resolution process, even when the resolution is recorded, as was done in 2007, as what the vacation with a hearing and the public input would provide. Again, this is a conservative view that was taken by the title attorney in this case. This didn't cost any more than a little bit of ink for the paper and the paper that it's printed on to allow him to provide his client a more clear title path. I guess that's why I recommended that it be done. We'll return this to the attorney and allow them to record the document.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I can notarize it. I didn't bring my stamp, but I'll do it before I turn it in.
It does say.
Now, he's got to change that. He's got George's on there.
I can cross that out.
Okay.
Next item is approval of lifting of taxes for AW.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to lift the tax suspension for TJ.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to lift the tax suspension for DK.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the approval of a resolution setting a public hearing and sale of property, parcel number 1328885, on the 11th day of March at 10:15.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is time set for 10:15, so we'll skip to item 9. That's to receive the appointment of the City of Smithland City Council.
Move, is it Don Salzberger?
Yep.
Be appointed to the City Council of Smithland.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, we still got a couple minutes. Go to the backup.
Mayor, I got some,
Go ahead, Pat.
just to kind of give you guys, ladies, so, I talked to Larry a little bit about this morning, but I talked to Dennis in the past about some equipment updates that we're going to need for elections this year. We talked about, Dennis sent out a capital equipment program for next year and years beyond that. We talked about replacing the equipment. So we agreed to hold on that for a year or so. But some of the things that we do need is to implement, what we've already started to implement is the electronic poll book. Secretary of State has software out there that we are using, no cost to us. There's an auditors group that actually has kind of a competing, but you have to purchase into that, and we chose not to do that. During the 2012 presidential election, we were one of the only larger counties that did not use electronic poll book. But you open yourself up for criticism for people who do same-day registration felons that are signing up. Because if you don't have electronic poll book, you're required by rule to read to people who are registered the same day that felon that should vote for the ballot. And so that doesn't always work out the best, and then it's more difficult to prove that a person is actually a felon. Felon is very difficult to prove because you have to prove intent. So the pressure, long story short, is that we need to implement the electronic poll books. And so some of these costs, and the reason I'm bringing up now, when we talk to Dennis, is that some of these printers that are available, we get a better price before the end of the month. So we're talking to Dennis about that, I'll be bringing more to you later. And it also talks about whether I want to be able to purchase a ballot on demand for use in the primary election and the general election. So those are expenses that weren't in the budget, and they would be, wouldn't apply to next year's budget or the following year when we want to do more purchase of equipment. So just to give you a heads up, that's what we're talking about.
Pat, you used up enough time. It's 10:15. We have the public.
Doug's here.
We have the public hearing and sale of property parcels number 012735, 012585, and 012615. Is there anyone to be heard for or against the sale of these properties? Now is not the time to bid, it's just
Move to close the public hearing?
Second.
discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now entertain bids for the above-mentioned parcels. Is there anyone here to bid on these parcels? Yes, sir.
1500.
Your name
Lorenzo Garcia.
and your bid?
Yeah. 1500.
Okay.
Joe
Yes.
Johnson for Harmony Real Estate. Harmony Real Estate builds bids 1,600.
Okay.
1700.
1,800.
2000.
2,100.
24.
2,500.
2700.
3,000.
Well, come on, we can balance the budget here.
That's my first time buying, so
Are you out, sir?
3300.
How much was the last?
33.
33.
3,400. 3,600,
37.
3,800,
I'm out.
Is there anyone else who wants to bid on this property? I don't want to miss anybody. Is there a motion?
Move to accept the bid for 3,800.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Got the name on that, Pat? You have the name and everything. You can go. Oh, Heather's right there. Thank you very much. Mr. Phillips.
Morning, Doug.
You may recall that I was here several weeks ago to iron out an inconsistency between the current scheduling method that the sheriff uses for deputies and the language in the current contract having to do with shift differential. We've solved that by averaging out the amount of the shift differential and applying it to two of the new shifts as they currently exist. The sheriff has since changed the manner in which correctional officers are scheduled, going from the historical 3 shifts of 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and 11 to 7, and moving that to a 2-shift schedule of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. That leads to the same kind of inconsistency in the current language of the contract as it relates to shift differential, because no one fits within the new world. We've discussed the matter with CWA, and they are willing to follow the same model that we did with the deputies and compromise the 2 different rates. Currently, the contract calls for 50 cents if you work what used to be the 2nd shift, and 40 cents if you worked what used to be the 3rd shift. They're willing to do 45 cents, or split the difference, for what is now the 2nd shift of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Much like with the deputies, that actually reduces your wage exposure, because before you had 2/3 of the people qualifying for one or the other shift differentials. Now, assuming that half the people work days and half of them work nights, you have half the people getting a shift differential. It makes sense, and so I'm here to suggest that you sign a memorandum of understanding which will resolve the shift differential problem that the new schedule has created.
And carry into the next negotiation.
It would remain in effect until such time as we negotiate something different, assuming that the current scheduling method works. Then I think one of the things we talked about was how's this new shift differential deal working that we did back in February.
All right, so we're talking about 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. will receive the shift differential.
Correct.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. will not receive.
Correct.
And that's been agreed to with by the union, and you're going
Yes.
to take care of the necessary paperwork and bring it in for the
I've
human
got it
resources.
with me right here. Need a signature from somebody, and then we'll send it off to CWA, and it will then be effective back when the shifts actually change, which would be January 20th. So I'll have to work with Gene to get the numbers worked out for everybody who worked that 2nd shift.
So you need a motion to approve the signature.
Approve the memorandum of understanding, a copy of which I have. Everyone should see it.
I move it.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. As long as we've got you here, is the OU matter, is that over?
This is not on the agenda, but the answer to your question is yes.
That's all I need.
Case was dismissed. Patty's got a copy, and so does George.
Right, I've seen the copy, but we received a letter after that you received about an explanation?
That was before.
That was before.
You got it backwards.
No, that's the way we got them, was backwards then.
Yeah, it's done.
Any other thing for Mr. Phillips before we let him go? I hate to,
Take your coat off. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Doug.
Stay a while.
and have you set up our next meeting, Doug?
I haven't, you got the message that
It's canceled for today?
there was a scheduling issue, CWA targeting in Eastern Iowa didn't get done, so I'm expecting an email with proposed dates.
Okay, get back to me.
Thanks.
Now we come to the part of hearing of any individual or group or any member of the board wishing to make a presentation of items not on the agenda. Mr. Nara.
Under the board's direction, our consultant INS group out of Storm Lake is preparing an application for a watershed improvement review board grant. In the final prep work for that grant, they bounced it off a couple of individuals who have experience with taking a look at these projects. And prior to turning it in, he wanted to ask a question of the board to see if we might want to more fully address the water quality issues down at Browns Lake as a part of this grant application to strengthen it in competition with the other grants that are on the table. Right now, as we're proposing our grant application, we're dealing with only one portion of the waters that are coming into Browns Lake. And I guess I'm just wanting to advise you, the board, of where we're at and get some advice back as to whether we want to submit as we are now or if we might want to take a look at the possibility of expanding the scope of our grant application. We only have until February 28th to turn in for the spring round of applications. We're addressing one of the three watersheds that are compounding the problems that have created the impaired watershed at Browns Lake. Browns Lake's dealing with, is on the impaired waterway list because of bacteriological contamination and sedimentation. We're dealing with sedimentation from one source. There are other sources that also impact the Browns Lake watershed. And the question that our consultant had was, prior to turning in this application and fixing in the minds of the review board that the Woodbury County application is tied to the Orton Slough Drainage District, do we want to work with others in the area, including residents and Mid-American, to look at all of the water that's contributing to Browns Lake? Do we want to delay for a fall application and have a wider discussion of water quality impacts at the lake? I guess I'm just looking to see what individually you think, so that we can advise our consultant whether we want to wait for fall to do this.
What's the board's pleasure?
I think you should go ahead and submit the application for the spring review. If those folks down there wish to get involved, they should start acting.
I'd have to agree, it's not our job to initiate, but I mean, there is the possibility of throwing it out there. And we're just on a tight deadline right now, that's why I wanted to give you the opportunity to weigh in.
Even if we submit now, we could submit in the fall again, can we
We
not?
could submit an altered application in the fall, and then we'd really have to make sure that we fix in the minds of the review board that this is not just about the drainage district anymore, we're looking at the wider scope.
Let's submit it now.
So it's my understanding, though, if we submit it now, our chances are not real good about getting it. I mean, is that a fair summary, that we can submit it because we said we were going to, but it seems to me the parameters of being accepted have changed. I mean, before it almost seemed like, yes, this was a great project, let's spend the money, let's submit it, and now I'm hearing that it's not as as strong of a project and may very well not be accepted.
It's still a good project, but it is
I-
not as strong a project as every 6 months they take this application process. There's a spring and a fall. There are 8 applications that carried over from last fall that they'll be reviewing again. And some of those are good applications, but they ran out of funds. They have $1.1 million to work with for this grant cycle. So that's basically funding 3 to 4 projects. And we are competing against those other projects that may be taking a more, that may give the board more bang for their buck than what we're giving them. I mean, we are filing a good application. We're addressing a problem, but we're not addressing all of the problems at Browns Lake.
Well, what we're actually addressing is the settlement pond for the Orton Slough,
Correct.
and possibly other steps the county can take down the road to get this water off of the abutting land. Now, in this application, is the application for drainage, or is it to clean up the environment?
The application that we're filing is for environmental improvement. That's what this WERB grant is doing. The drainage district project is really an independent issue. We're trying to get water off of the land that makes up the Orton Slough. But what we're doing with the Watershed Improvement Review Board grant is to improve the quality of the water leaving the land. One of the concerns that had been expressed in our first informal hearing was that the water is going to be leaving the land faster, it'll be carrying more sediments and chemicals with it. What we're doing with the WERB grant to address that problem is improving a wetland and creating a filter out there so that we separate a portion, a majority in fact, of those chemicals and soil that's eroded prior to it being discharged into the lake. I think that's a valid improvement to the project, and it's within the scope that the board works with as trustees. But again, we are competing against other projects that may be taking a more comprehensive approach to affecting whatever water body that those folks are applying toward.
I just don't see how, I'm not convinced myself that, you know, we can do anything other than address the Orton Slough at this time.
That's all that the board has authority to do. It's whether or not you would want to build a coalition and work with the other folks that have discharges coming into the slough, which would include Browns Lake area residents. I think
Well, they should not have any discharge into the lake.
They should not know.
So if there is, that's something the DNR has got to look into and resolve, not the county board.
Yeah, the DNR would be it would be the county board dealing with that unless the county board was working in cooperation with the landowners. I mean, it would take them coming to you like the drainage district has, really. You know, they were approached by Salix a number of years ago for water and sewer. Sewer in particular would really be the solution to the likely problem because, you know, I'm not sure where the discharges of any of the septic systems are down there. I mean, this could be bacteria percolating through the soil. It could also be direct discharge into the lake. That problem occurs on the Macocata River and a number of watersheds throughout Iowa. And that's what WERB is really, that's one of the issues WERB is trying to take care of.
And we're not addressing anything else by the action we took other than a filtration system for the Orton Slough. We're not talking about an open drainage system or a tile system or anything else. That's got nothing to do with this application.
This is separate from the actual drainage of the Orton Slough district, yes. what we're trying to do is to clean up the water that's coming off of Borden.
Well, then, as I see it, you just want a sense of the majority of whether to hold the application or to forward it.
Correct.
Any other questions?
We can always refine and seek out other partners later. You know, again, our marching orders right now are to have that application in Des Moines on February 28th.
So let's just go around the room. Jackie, you want to hold or?
Well, I'm not hopeful we'll get it, but it sounds like the majority of the board wants to send it, so I will go along with it. But I just hope it doesn't hurt our chances later of a comprehensive. So yes, I guess, send it in.
Yes.
Dave? Mark?
Yeah, turn it down, we can always redo it in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we'll do.
Okay.
I appreciate the board taking a little time out to review the situation again, so thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Is there anyone else in the audience? George's on vacation, so we've got the applications for the Human Resource Director. Why don't you trim it down, each of you, to 4 names and turn them in to me next week? And we'll set something up as far as interviews. And Hartnett has got these applications as well. I'll contact him and see if he's done any research. Is there anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Stand adjourned.